Hello, welcome to Math for All, where we try to make math creative, curious, and inclusive for everyone. I'm Molly Vokey.
And I'm Heidi Sibnani. And before we start tonight, we would like to acknowledge this space that our country is in once again with a school shooting. Molly and I were talking earlier, and Columbine happened my first year of teaching. And we are here in this space once again, mourning the loss of young elementary students and their teachers. And
Our hearts and prayers go out to the families of these poor innocent students and to all of the people in their community who are going to be trying to keep it together for the rest of their students. For anyone who has been in a school that has had major tragedy, you know that is no easy task. So we just couldn't let this go by without saying something and knowing that the rest of the country is hopefully praying for this community. Seems trivial now to say all of this, actually.
But we are really excited to be here tonight. This is the season finale of our show. And we would love, if you are watching, to follow us on Twitter, Facebook. You can follow our YouTube channel at Math for All. And we'd love to continue this conversation in that space as well. So we hope that you will join us. If you've missed a show, you can always catch up later on YouTube.
Yes. And we are very excited to have Kim Glenn here tonight with us. And she is going to talk to us about how mathematics education creates a more equitable world. So we are super excited to have this conversation.
And we also want to say that we have volunteered with the organization that Kim works with. So we are really excited to have her on today as the executive director. And so we're going to get to talk more about MathKind and the work that is done. But before we do, we're going to introduce Kim. Kim Glenn grew up in Eastern North Carolina and left home at the young age of 15 to attend the North Carolina School of Science and Math in Durham, North Carolina. She then attended the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. She has over 20 years of experience in fundraising and pharmaceutical sales, having worked for Pfizer, Cardinal Healthcare, Teacher America, and Durham Nativity School, and the American Heart Association. Kim is an active member of the PTA and other organizations that advocate for children. She is driven by a deep dedication to serve children with a similar upbringing to her own in order to ensure that they receive equitable access to opportunities. Kim and her husband, Mike, are a blended family with 5 children, and Kim is currently the executive director of MathKind.
Yay! Let's bring her in. Hi, Kim. How are you?
Hi, good. Thanks for having me.
We're very excited, and we're also very excited that you're our season finale.
I know. I feel the pressure's on.
No pressure. No pressure. We're easy here at Math for All. So we like to start every show with, what is your math story?
Wow, my math story. So we would have to go all the way back to the young days. I won't throw out a year to age myself. I've lived all over the world at this point, or not all over the world, all over the country at this point. But I started my life, and I'm from Eastern North Carolina. If you're not familiar with Eastern North Carolina, it's a very rural, very much a farming community. And that is the type of family I come from. For the better part of, I think probably the entire history of my family, they've been farmers and pig farmers, and that has been their main way of sustaining themselves. My grandparents, my maternal grandfather could not read or write because education was not important. In his generation, I know that none of my grandparents completed more than about the fifth grade. My mom actually finished high school. My dad only finished again about fourth grade. Um, but it just wasn't important until I came along. And I say that because I'm always fascinated by the fact that and I'm an only child. And so these generations of people who had not had the opportunity to be educated, because I don't think it was necessarily the lack of desire, but the lack of expectation, the lack of ability to do something different than what they were doing. The fact that these people just instilled in me such a tremendous sense of the need to do well in school, to take advantage of every opportunity. I still get emotional today when I think about how much it would have taken for them to want something from me that they didn't quite understand, but they knew was important. And so because of that, I really credit that with my desire to learn and absorb as much as I could throughout school. I love school. That was not a popular thing for a Black girl to do in the time that I was raised in Eastern North Carolina. It actually made me um, very not popular in a lot of ways. And I also was not athletic. And so, but I took a lot of pride in my academics. Like it meant a lot to me, and that is what I think got me through my childhood and my teenage years is that desire to succeed and make my parents proud and make my grandparents proud and all those things. And so I because of that I had the opportunity when I was 15 to, you mentioned in the opening bio, to I left home when I was 15 to go to the North Carolina School of Science and Mathematics, which leaving and going away was just unheard of because people didn't do that. And so it was a really big deal for my family. And I was only 15, and Durham, North Carolina was 3.5 hours away, but it might as well have been,
Yeah.
China as far as they were concerned. It was
Yeah.
the other side of the world
Yeah.
um, back then. And so it was a incredible opportunity for me. And it was so wonderful and affirming to be in a space where learning and enjoying math and science and all those things was accepted, and there were kids who looked like me who were interested in doing the same things, and it was okay because we were all kind of on the same page of doing that. And then I went on to the to UNC Chapel Hill. And then after I graduated, I spent some time in pharmaceutical sales, but then decided that I really wanted to do more in the community than what I was doing. So I left Pfizer and I started working for the American Heart Association, which is also really important to me. My family suffers a lot from lots of different heart disease related issues, but I realized that education really was my passion, and so I've spent time working for Teach for America. Working for a small private school for low income Black and Hispanic boys in Durham, North Carolina, called Durham Nativity School, which is where I was directly before I came here. And so I also serve currently still on a board, a statewide board called NC Child, that is does policy and advocacy work for children across the state of North Carolina. And so I've had this really natural transition of doing things in a smaller local environment, impacting Durham with, at the school, and then impacting statewide through Teach for America and NC Child, and to now have this opportunity to impact educational opportunities on a global scale through Math Kind. It's just been such a incredible journey for me, and I'm so excited to be in this place and working with the incredible leaders that I have around me every day.
That is an incredible story, actually. I'm so intrigued by you leaving at 15. I mean, I can imagine some kids today doing something like that. There seems to be lots of more opportunities for things like that than there were when I was in school.
Yeah.
But for you to be leaving your family as the only child also, that's a really big deal, right?
Yeah, there were lots of tearful phone calls
Oh,
on my end and my parents' end. Lots of, maybe I should come home, and then, do you should maybe you should come home, and like, and then and it's just agreeing that no, we said we're gonna do this, we're gonna do it. This is for the best. This is great, because I really was limited in my opportunities at home. My kids are always amazed when I talk about the high school that I went to before I left, where we had one computer and it was in the library, and
yeah.
it was and you kind of had to share it, and most of my science labs were dry labs, because we didn't have the equipment and all those things. And so to have access to so much when I went away, and it really opened my eyes to the inequity that exists even just in the state of North Carolina. Like, we're not even talking about the world at this point. We're talking about
Mhm.
just in my own state, in my own community, so to speak, the inequity of my high school versus high schools that were in more affluent areas. And I really didn't know and understand that until I left. And I
Yeah,
realized, like,
but that's a young age to learn that, right? I mean, because as you said, most kids don't leave their own high school to go someplace else. So it's generally not until college where kids learn even just about differences, not even about inequities necessarily, but just that things are different in other places. So that's
yeah.
that's a big wow for you to start learning that at 15, and now it's coming full circle and in your 17th career.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It also really struck me. I remember at the time thinking, wow, like, it's hard enough for children from lower funded or schools that aren't as funded to come to a big university like UNC Chapel Hill, but to come, and it really put a fine point on it, that I was coming immediately from a school that had resources, and so I kind of assimilated into college life, like, okay, I know what I'm doing. But to come directly from the original high school that I went to, what a culture shock that would have been. And that really speaks to, the college dropout rates for children of color and first generation college students. It's just so much to cope with, coming to such a different environment. And
Mm.
so I appreciate having that stepping stone in between.
Wow.
So when you joined Math Kind, so that is a new name to the
Yes.
organization that we
Yeah.
volunteered with before, and now. So it was Teachers to Teachers Global. So if you saw our shows before with Ali, Callie, Chad, in some
Hmm.
form, we spoke about Teachers to Teachers Global. But this last year has gone through kind of a rebranding, I guess. And so could you talk to us a bit about why that was and what MathKind does as an organization?
Yeah, so it's funny. So I started here November 1st was of 2021 was my first day here at MathKind. And when I started the interview process, we were Teachers to Teachers Global. And and by the time I started, it's like, we have a whole new name now. So it was not a spur of the moment decision. It was intentional and well thought out. And we really felt the need to make the name change um, to better represent who we are as an organization. We are actually focused on math education. We're founded back in 2014 by, you mentioned Chad, and also his wife, Jenny
Hmm.
McGlone, were, co-founders of the organization. We've evolved over the years, but we really are centered on bringing equitable math education to people around the world. And so hence the name change to MathKind, because we believe that math is for humans and for every human being around the world. And so is that humankind, MathKind link. And actually our have a business card here. So if you look at put up to the screen so you can see, so our logo, you can see.
Hmm.
So it's a fancy M in a bit, and so M for math, but then also it's a bridging the world and bridging communities and cultures. And then if you see on the end, it's got an equal sign, which really speaks to equity, which is, at the core and a foundational part of who we are and what we do.
I'm so glad you explained that because I noticed the bridge and I didn't really kind of pick up the equal sign as an equal sign, and I love that something that's so simple can mean so much.
Yeah, it's and I would love to say, oh, I'm a genius, and I immediately knew all these things, but it was explained. It was explained to me as well. Like this is what, and I love the meaning behind it, and I'm really proud of our team that took us through the rebranding. But it has been, it takes time to get everyone used to the new name. And hey, same great organization, just new
Yep.
name.
Love it. Love it. Well, why don't we dive in, because this is the perfect place for you to talk about how mathematics education creates a more equitable world. Because I think this is the focus of your organization, right?
Yeah, it really is. Our mission is to, build quality math education programs through collaborative partnerships that drive greater social justice. Um, Primarily, right now, we are doing work in Ecuador and in Guatemala, but we are looking to do work all over the world and expand. And we've done work in Nepal and Costa Rica and Belize. We've done work everywhere, but we're focusing those places right now. But I'll say from the perspective of math education and building a more equitable world, when I first came to MathKind back on, November 1st, and I was telling my friends, okay, I'm going to work for this new organization, MathKind. I'm explaining what it is. A common response I received was, oh, a nonprofit about math education. That seems nice. I was so horrible at math. I was terrible at math. And I just, people were so comfortable just telling me that, like, I was so bad at math in school. I was the worst subject. I was so glad to get out of math. And and I just thought it was just so interesting how many people had either told themselves they were bad at math or had someone tell them they were bad at math. Maybe it was a teacher, maybe it was a parent, right? Exactly, exactly. And so there's this narrative out there of all these people that feel like, oh gosh, you say math and their eyes glass over. It's like, I'm not good at that. But when you think about it, math is such a basic, life skill. It's about problem solving. It's about critical thinking. It's you know, solving the day-to-day issues in your community. If you can learn how to think critically and how to think for yourself and be independent thinkers. And so, we really are dedicated to empowering communities or empowering teachers, I should say, because we primarily work directly with the teachers. And so we're supporting their desire to empower their communities and remove some of those systemic barriers that exist. Math really has the power to transform a community, and we want to help teachers unleash that power within their students. A great example that I heard one of my colleagues say was, you take a problem like global warming, it's not just going to take one person in North Carolina solving that problem. That's a global problem. That's going to take critical thinkers all over the world working in their communities, figuring out how can we better things here, and that's how we're all going to work together to make this happen. And so when you think about math education, it's so much bigger than calculus. This is not what we're talking about here.
No.
Right?
And that's what people think about. And so
It is so true. It's so true. And kids get on tracks when they're I mean, as young as third grade. And that track really, it means, will I get to calculus or will I not get to calculus?
yes,
I mean, we don't even have to talk about whether or not calculus for everyone is important, but you are so right that math is just way bigger than that.
Mm-hmm.
It's way more basic and it's way bigger.
Mm-hmm.
right. And when you think about the and also math is unique. Like it's uniquely difficult. I'm not a math teacher, but I know it's uniquely difficult to teach. It's just different. It's different. You can you can connect a lot of different subjects through math. And so there's reading in math. You're solving, you're solving word problems. And so we really spend a lot of our time and energy in collaboration with these communities, not telling them how to teach, but working with them and partnering with them so that we can figure out what works in each community. Because what we do in Ecuador isn't exactly the same as what we do in Guatemala, or what we may end up doing one day in Nepal. Is going to be different, and it's going to be customized and driven by the educators in that community.
Can you talk a little bit about what it looks like? Like, what are the programs that you have that when you go to Nepal or to Guatemala, what happens? How do you do it?
Wow, this is we do a lot of different things.
It's a loaded question, so just
Yeah,
it is. One of my favorite initiatives that we started in the last few years is Girls STEM Club. And it sounds right. It sounds very simple, like, oh, Girls STEM Club, but you have a community of girls who very much have not been taught that they should be or are good at math, that the math and sciences are for them. We have a member of our staff, Pal, who was just talking about yesterday, and she's from Ecuador, and she's, was either the first or the second. I think she was the first woman to graduate with a master's degree in mathematics from the university in Ecuador. And so empowering girls and women is such a big part of our work. That's not what people necessarily think about when they think about Math Kind, but because of the communities that we're in, and because of the systems that exist, it's important to us to focus on the most marginalized piece of the community, which is women and girls. And so I love Girls STEM Club. I love seeing the pictures of the girls excited about math and excited about learning, and their teachers who are by and large women as well, feeling empowered in this system that wasn't necessarily created for them. And so I love that. We have I'm thinking about, and I'm translating all these things to English from like the Spanish version, because these are, of course, Spanish in my mind. So the Math Mobile, where we're taking the math to them, and coaching, having coaching sessions. We have learning labs. We have them in Spanish. We have them in English, and we're taking small groups of educators, and they are collaborating together to think differently about math, and maybe think differently and talk differently about it than how they were taught even in their school and educational programs. You know, one of the stories that I've heard that really struck me is one of our teachers who said that I for the first time she's loving teaching math. And that just that really sums up who we are and what we want, because we want everyone to have that love, because if teachers love teaching it, that comes through. And the students are going to love doing it, and are going to see it as being applicable to their daily lives, and not just something you do in school and you forget about it and you're done. No, this is day to day, every single day. And teaching math in a way that makes sense in your community. Is it you're using math in the kitchen alongside your mom while you're making traditional dishes. We're very much about in community education in the real world.
I love that you've been talking about making it personal to the community, because I think we in the United States don't consider math to be something that we need to make personal. And I think there are lots and lots of people in the United States working to help teachers see that math is not just this giant set of rules, but you're bringing that globally, and with people who may or may not have ever been told, like you said, that math is for them. And we in the United States believe that every kid has to do math, but they have to do it this way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting that we could learn something from from Math Kind in your mission to make math more equitable here, right in the United States as well.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. One of the things that we also have done in the past, and we pause a little bit because of the pandemic, is the idea of these these teacher trips. We're gonna start those up again. And they're not just, hey, teacher from the United States, come and go see this school, and no, that's not what this is. This is in partnership. This is okay. We're going to do some, we're going to work together and do some professional development, and we're going to go there, and you're going to co-teach, and you're going to learn from them, and they're going to learn from you, because we are not the all-knowing everything people from the United States. There is so much knowledge to be shared and learned in the communities that we go to in Guatemala, in Ecuador. And so to have the teachers from the US also bring back knowledge and skills and learn that, I learned some things about myself, about the world, about Guatemala, about other people. Like, we want those deep learning experiences when people travel with us. So I'm excited that we're going to be doing that. I don't have dates to announce yet and exactly when that's happening, but that is something that we are going to start.
We'll stock the website,
That's right.
No problem. We have no problem doing that. So it is, yeah, I mean, like that is.
Yeah, both Heidi and I have been very lucky to have experienced, Heidi more than I, but Heidi's been to Guatemala with me, and then she also was in Ecuador. So we have been so blessed to have experienced both of the, I mean, for Heidi, both of those things. And it's definitely changes your whole perspective on teaching in general. It's kind of amazing.
Well, the possibilities are there, and we have to think about the systems that we create. I think it's an opportunity for teachers from the U.S. or for those of us who provide professional development to reflect on the systems that kind of foster inequity here at home, also what we're doing in a more local way to really push back on those and to create more equitable spaces here as well. I think that's a huge issue regardless of where you are, and we all can use those same tools regardless of where we're serving.
Yeah, it definitely makes it more clear when you go to another country that it changes your perspective on what you're seeing here in the United States. So the work that you all do is amazing, and I'm happy to have been a part of it, and hope that I can do more in the future.
Yeah, I was going to say, I hope you guys continue to be a part of it. You've been, I haven't been around that long, but I've heard the stories, and I know you've been great partners. And so thank you for being that for us. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you, why don't you tell us where we can learn more about you, because I just deleted that band. I'll just say it.
So you can go to our website, mathkind.org, or you can follow us on social media. We have all of our handles are the same, so they're nice and simple. Whether it's Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, it is Mathkind Global is our handle. So please follow us, like us. We have lots of great content. We do have workshops and conferences and things that are offered in English and Spanish. We recently had a global math conference, and it was our first bilingual conference, and it was virtual. We hope to have in-person things again starting soon. But it's so exciting having opportunities to engage our Spanish-speaking educators alongside our English-speaking educators. So we love that we're a truly bilingual organization.
Can I ask you to just say a little bit, because I think this is something that all teachers can do very easily, and it's provided on your website, is can you
Hmm.
talk a little bit about Global Math Stories?
Yes. Oh boy, where do I start with global math stories? So global math stories is we have about 75, 76 stories on our website. And so if you go to our website and you just go under, I'm looking at the website here to the side, you go to resources, and and click on global math stories. And there's all these stories from around the world. Some have been created by staff members. Some have been uh, uh, sent to us by partners, by friends of the organization, by educators around the world. But they're divided up by continent, and you can click on a story. Like, for example, the first one up here is the floating schoolhouse in Bangladesh. And what a great opportunity for students to learn about what school is like on a boat in Bangladesh, and using these stories to teach whatever subject that you're teaching in mathematics. There's a place here for math resources, and so some activities for fourth and fifth graders. You'll find questions for social justice questions that you can ask your kids to have conversations about the story, to make them think about the math, but then also about the people that the story's about. And so, what a great way to bring the world together. We're all about that bridge in our logo, bridging communities, bridging cultures. You learn something about the community, about the culture, about the people. And I think, I mean, this is me being very altruistic here. Like, the world would be such a better place if we could just all understand each other a lot better, and understand people around the world. And so, great resource, lots of story. Everything's free. It's all free. And if you're inspired, there's even a place here where you can click and share your own story, because maybe you have an interesting story to share, and we can talk about the math in the world around you where you are.
So what I love about that is that any teacher right now can go on your website and teach tomorrow.
Yes.
So you don't have to go on a trip. You don't have to be global. You can just bring the globe to your classroom by using those stories, and they're fascinating stories. Heidi and I have both um, used them, and they are. I mean, kids love them. You'll be
Yep.
intrigued by them because, like she said, you're just absolutely learning about the culture of wherever that story exists.
And we're always adding new stories. We're always adding new resources. You'll see that some stories have more resources than others. It's just because people have been contributing to different stories, and so over time, we're constantly adding new and more information, and for different grade levels and those things. So we would love for Global Math Stories to be this huge platform with just so many stories and different resources for teachers that they can easily, like you said, go to. This is what I'm going to teach today, and talk about this, and make it easy for them.
Yeah, wonderful resource. Great. Well, Kim, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. This has been such a treat to get to know you and to hear more about what's going on with MathKind and to learn all about the name. Um, we're just thrilled. We're thrilled for all the new things that you're going to be doing.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
That was fun.
Yes, I know. I have organization that is very near and dear to us, and so we hope that you will check out their website and keep a lookout for those teacher trips. We
Yeah,
hope
it's the real deal. It's the real deal. It's really awesome. Great stuff. Well, as we said, this is our last show for this school year, and we will be taking the summer off. We don't have a start date yet. As you can see, Heidi has been moving in the background, so we are
changes happening around here.
Yeah, we're gonna take a little bit of time to plan out our next season, and we appreciate everybody who watched us or passed us along for anyone else to see this year. So thank you all for that.
And we are really excited about some of the people that we are planning to have on. And so
Mhm.
you can also reach out if you have someone that you would like to suggest or like to hear more from. We would be happy to do that as well. But until then, spend this time this summer enjoying family and friends and some relaxation. And until next time, we hope that you keep math creative, curious, and inclusive for all.
All right. Thanks, everybody.